Hello, everybody. Welcome to TV Skywriter. I'm Pat Murray, your host. And TV Skywriter is actually kind of like an offshoot of the Durham Skywriter. That's the online community paper that I publish here in Durham, North Carolina at durhamskywriter.com. And I have Radio Skywriter. Most of the things that I do with the Durham Skywriter and Radio Skywriter on WNCU are, well, I would say, Durham, North Carolina centric. But TV Skywriter is where I get to talk to people all over the country, the world, people who might not have anything to do with Durham, but people that I think that you should know. So today we have a very special guest. I'm a gigantic salsa fan from way back, so this is really fun for me. We have Mr. Chino Rodriguez. He is the head of Latin music booking and the Oriente Music Group, and he's a trombonist, a composer, and a band leader from the golden era, what we call the golden era of salsa. Welcome to the show, Mr. Chino Rodriguez.
Thank you, thank you.
Very happy to have you here.
I'm happy to be here.
Absolutely. Found you online, and actually, the internet is just incredible. You can just find just people all over the world who are really interesting.
Right.
So I want to ask you because the roots of salsa, and some people don't like the term, they prefer tropical, but the roots and the beginnings of salsa, to me, are very much like the roots of rap. It's kids just doing creative things out in the street, catches fire, and then it's popularized all over the world. So how did you get into Latin, what we call Latin music back in New York?
Well, yeah, okay, because I was drawn into it pretty funny because I'm half Chinese, by the way,
Okay.
and half Puerto Rican. So when I met my wife, who wasn't my wife yet, naturally, she was my girlfriend. So when I was dating her, her cousin, Johnny Vasquez, was singing for at the time Larry Harlow.
Cool. The great
Uh,
band leader, salsa band
right.
leader.
hmm and just as he left, Larry, Ismael Miranda joined, and so then Johnny went to Larry's brother Andy, and they created a hit called La Música Brava. Well, several hits, off that
Mm-hmm.
off that Andy Harlow album. And then the history of Larry Hollow and Ishmael Miranda.
Well,
They
salsa
really, they,
fans
re-
do, yeah.
they really sawed off. And so, I got interested in it, and well, I got interested in it when I was in school, in the music school. Okay, I picked up the trombone, and
I have
they
to butt in and ask you, why did you choose the trombone? It's not the easiest instrument to play.
no, it's not. But okay, what happened was I have a friend, Jerry. Matter of fact, Jerry and I just got in touch. Thanks for Facebook. Okay,
Hmm.
we got in touch again last year, and Jerry's out in Ohio, still playing trombone, also. And Jerry was my junior high school friend that he he kind of like pushed me into, come on, let's go get these trombones. They're going to give out trombones, they're going to give out these musical instruments for the music class. And I
Wow.
said, really? I don't know if I want to play. So he goes, no, 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 come on, man. This way you're with me. And I said, all right, okay. So we went and we got the trombones and we started doing the music classes at school. And Johnny Cologne, the Boogaloo Blues guy.
Okay.
Uh, One day he was in a street festival next to where I lived, which was in the Lower East Side on Christie Street and Forsyth area, Grand. So anyway, so he was in this street festival, and I was taking this trombone class, and I'm not really interested in it. And so here comes Johnny Cologne, and he's up on the stage playing, and I saw him, with the trombone, and he's playing, Boogaloo Blues, and I'm saying, wow, that is cool. I really want to learn how to do that, you know.
Uh-huh.
So now I paid attention in school. I started paying attention to the music classes now,
Mm-hmm.
and so then, well, before my wife, I had a girlfriend that brought me into Brooklyn, and I wound up doing a band boy job for orchestra DJ.
Okay. What does that mean? You copy the music or something, or
No, no, bad. I carried the equipment.
oh, like a roadie?
Yeah, like a roadie.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah.
they called it a band boy back then.
Okay. Okay.
So and there was the trombonists were Jerry Hernandez and Belly Ramirez, I think his last name is. But Belly uh, used to they would rehearse down in the bridal studio because George DeJesus, George DJ, right?
Mm-hmm.
He
Mm-hmm.
would
Okay.
his mother owned a beauty, or not a beauty, a bridal studio, right? Huge.
Okay.
It was on Metropolitan Avenue in Brooklyn, and it was huge, this place. And down in the basement, George had created a studio. Like it was like a huge, like a small. It looked like a small club, you know,
Wow.
but it would had a stage and the whole thing. And so they would go down there and rehearse, and I would be there with them, you know. And then when they finished, they took a break. I was so interested in trombone now,
Mm-hmm.
so Belly started teaching me, the ad libs. He started teaching me a little, the ad libs and some of the songs,
Mm-hmm.
and I would be, there with him during the 5 minute break or 10 minute break, whatever it was, And so then when they came back, everybody, so it wound up that I wound up going with them everywhere, and
You're
as a
probably
roadie.
hoping that. Were you hoping that one day the trombone player would call in sick?
Yeah, I was hoping that somebody would. Yeah, I was hoping Jerry would, would stump his toe and not come in, so, so I could take over. But uh, uh, but that didn't happen, and so that frustration of it wound up with me and Jerry, in New York, in Manhattan, Lower East Side. We started our own band.
Hmm. Okay, that's one way to do it.
Okay, and so we started the band, and I, we when we started it, it was it was like, yeah, wasn't that great. I think I have a picture. I'm not sure if I have it here, but I have a picture on I think it's on my Facebook account,
Okay.
and it
So were
has
you in high school? Well, I mean, how old were you?
junior high school.
Wow.
Yeah, junior high school. So we turned around and started this band, and oh wow, I mean, all we did was rehearse,
Was
and
it a ragtag group or?
yeah, it was. But I'm going to tell you, out of the group, everyone continued a musical career.
Wow, that's
You know,
impressive. Okay.
everybody continued a
Hmm.
musical career. You know,
But that probably wasn't too strict. Well, let me ask you, because I don't know what year that was. But didn't Willie Colon start when he was like 17
yeah, yeah,
in the Bronx?
and that was more or less just about the same time. He
Okay.
was in the
Okay.
Bronx. We were down on the Lower East Side. We did one show for the school because the music teacher found out that I started this band with Jerry,
Sure.
and so he convinced us that we should play. This Latin band should go on stage, right for everybody in the school, since it was our last year. Also, we were graduating from junior high, going into high school.
Okay. How'd it
So,
go?
well, we did. We played, and it was for the Hispanic Heritage time frame.
Okay.
And so we played, and naturally, it was great for us because at the time, why does any of these guys go into music and stuff for the girls and for for the glory, right? So
So
we
you
went.
probably arrived in high school as a big shot, right?
Yeah, but that became a different thing also because I wound up going to architectural high school in the Bronx.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh,
So
okay.
I didn't go for that career, but I wound up doing that. Um, then after that, I guess I was there about a year or so before I met my wife, and that brought me into a more professional state when I met her cousin, and then he introduced me to Larry and Andy, and I wound up. Larry introduced me into the Fania scene, into Jerry, and you know,
Wow,
and
wow.
I wound up, just hanging out with, the guys, the real people that were playing in the clubs.
Yeah.
So
Well, when salsa started, did it start with Fania or did Fania?
no, they
Uh,
before Fania, these guys already had bands and they were playing. Yeah.
okay, okay,
And
okay,
then Jerry came along and started signing them.
okay.
You
So it's
know,
Jerry
but Jerry,
Masucci.
when I met Jerry, Jerry was still a lawyer, and he was Johnny's friend. You
Okay,
know,
that's Johnny Pacheco.
yeah,
Okay.
So
So it's kind of like
he was more
uh
like Jerry was Johnny's divorce lawyer.
oh, okay. That's kind of like Barry Gordy and Smokey Robinson,
Right,
right?
exactly.
Of Motown.
Right,
So it was like a business guy and a musician
right,
partnership.
exactly happened like that.
Interesting,
Jerry,
interesting.
Jerry was one of these guys that he would talk like this. How you doing?
That's funny.
you know, I don't know anything about this business. Why don't you teach me? He was a very slick guy.
He looks slick.
He would turn around and act like he didn't know nothing, and so you could pour your little heart out to him, so he could learn every bit of information that you gave him, and he would
Mm,
store it like a computer. You know,
that is the
so
best way to learn.
yeah,
Feign ignorance.
so that's what Jerry did. But that's how I wound up getting to started more like a big boost type of thing
Mm, mm.
with that because my mentor was Larry Harlow, you know,
That's awesome.
and then
That's
uh, and
awesome.
then I met Harvey Avern,
Okay.
who was vice president of Fania at the
Mm,
time.
mm.
He became president of Via Records because Jerry then started buying all these little labels, right?
I was going to ask you about that because I remember when I was a kid, the commercials would always be Vaya, Tico, Vaya.
Yeah,
So those are two other labels. Tico and Vaya
right.
were two other labels. So he bought them.
He bought them. Yeah, he bought them. He bought
Okay.
Cotique. He started. Jerry um, Jerry had a vision of the future. I mean, this guy was smart. This guy, Jerry, was. I mean, he saw the future. And not only that, like I said, he and like everyone knows, the history of salsa tells you that Jerry formed Fania right as an exact model of Motown,
Okay.
you know,
Okay. Hmm.
and
Hmm.
so and then Jerry with his smarts, he started realizing he could take over the entire industry of
The
Latin music.
entire industry? Wow.
Yeah, because that's what he started to do. He started to buy up all the labels.
Okay.
He started to buy up all the little labels, Cotique and Vaya and Tico,
But
and
not Seco, right? Probably not Seco. That
no,
came
not
because that came
Tico.
way
No,
before
Tico.
Fania.
Yeah, but and they went out. I think they went out of business when Jerry was with Fania now.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
because I don't remember them being around anymore. There was
Okay.
still Gemma. There was still Rico Records, which was owned by Ralph Cartagena and Tony Pabon, you
Okay.
know,
Okay.
and then Combo Records, you know,
Hmm.
but that was it. They were the guys that were rebelling. You know, they wouldn't want go with Jerry. That's it.
Hmm.
I'm not gonna go with this Italian guy. You know?
Well, with Jerry Masucci trying to own everything, I can imagine he probably wasn't well loved. I'm
No,
just guessing.
he on in the business side. Naturally, he wasn't loved. No, of course not. You know, on the music side, he was loved. Because he was the guy that was bringing the music scene to New York. You know,
Hmm.
this was the salsa scene explosion. It's more or less like what happened, I gather, in the 30s, 40s with the mambo scene. You
Okay,
know,
okay.
with the explosion of the big band when during the big band era, and it wound up going into a Latin phase, which brought out Jose Cubello Orchestra, which
Hmm.
brought out uh,
You mean, are those the days of Paris Prado?
yeah, yeah,
Okay,
hmm
okay. And
Paris
Arsenio
Prado,
Rodriguez.
right, Arsenio
And,
Rodriguez. That but then there was there was these big bands like then Tito Puente Orchestra. Jose
yeah.
Cubello had a huge Jose Cubello had a band that was probably the same size as the Glenn Miller band. You know,
Wow, that's
so
impressive.
that was Jose Cubello, and how funny things are. All this guy Jose Cubello wound up being my manager when 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 I started working. Let me see if I have a picture. I'll show it
Okay,
to you.
okay.
It's him, Chet, this guy named Chet Holland, and and what was his name? Landy Silva.
Hmm.
These guys, they joined Jose Cubello. Oh, they probably passed the phone.
So in these early days when you were hanging out at Fania, were you still a band boy at this time,
No,
or?
no. I was now with Jerry. We still had the band, but we weren't
Okay,
really working. Because things move so quickly. Back
yeah,
then.
yeah.
I
So
don't
it's
know
not like
where
they
my
signed
I
your
don't know
band
where
then.
my teen years went, but it moved so quickly that Jerry and I not seeing each other anymore after a little while
Hmm.
because we didn't work, and
Okay,
I
that's
wound up
frustrating.
working as a sideman, you know,
Okay.
and
Does
Jerry
that
was
mean, what does that mean in the recording studio? What is
no, no.
society?
I would work with Larry Harlow on trombone. He'd call me and I'd go and work with him in a club. You know,
Oh, okay, okay.
I'd
So you
play
are
his
working.
club.
So that's working on the professional side
Hmm
then, in the
Yeah.
clubs and probably on records too.
No, I didn't get to do on the records yet.
Ah.
Not yet. No. Uh, because basically, it was Larry that was
Hmm.
using trombones. Willie was using trombones, but he already had his guy.
Yeah.
It was
What was that
Willie and
trombone that Willie
Jose. I
Colon?
think it was his
What about
name.
Willie Colon? His trombone looked strange. It looked like it had valves like a trumpet or
Oh
something.
no, that's later on in years.
Oh.
He got a bass trumpet. It's
Oh, is
called.
that what that was?
Yeah,
Okay, I don't know much about
it's a bass
the.
trumpet, and so that's why it looks like a huge. It looks like a semi tuba, so to speak.
Okay, I didn't know what that thing was, to tell you the truth. He
Yeah,
never announced that he'd
but
made the switch. So.
yeah. He switched to that because he wanted he liked trumpet better, and he wanted to play trumpet, but he didn't start the band with trumpet, so now he's known with trombone,
Right, right.
and he can't get
But
away from
tell
it.
us a little bit more about the early days of salsa because I can imagine it was very exciting with all these new musicians. Like I said,
It
Willie
was.
Colon,
I
Hector
mean,
Lavoe.
it was a time frame that things were so things were exploding. It was moving so quickly. I mean, I remember meeting Ralph Mercado when I was a younger kid. He was doing actually uh, uh, black dances at churches, in the uptown areas.
Okay.
He would be he would be hiring guys like the Temptations and stuff like that, and
Oh, cool.
you
Crossing
know
over.
all those
Yeah.
type of groups. And I wound up meeting him through a dance that he threw, and he hired Hollow. And this is again like maybe 2 or 3 months before Hollow got signed to Fania. You know,
Okay. Okay.
so um, we wound up going to this church dance, and it was done by Ralph, and so that's how I met Ralph Mercado. And from
And
there
he
it was
didn't
just
he become like the main manager
yeah.
in Salsa?
Ralphie became at that point in time, Ralphie, started hiring all these Latin bands because, you know, he started doing Latin dances
Hmm.
with his new partner. His One of his partners was Hector Maisonave, and so they
Okay.
called it the M&M Club,
Oh, cute.
right?
M&M Club.
Right. So they started doing dances and at the St. George Hotel, all these big places, and they would hire all these Latin bands, and so they got to meet Jerry, who tagged along, because
Okay.
Jerry,
Okay.
was just starting to think about starting this label, and so he was just learning everything. So he met Ralph, and he turned around, and once Jerry started the label and started signing everyone, Willie Colon and Barreto and Harlow and stuff like that. Um, he turned around and went to Ralph and said, "Hey, I need a booking agent."
Oh, that became Ralphie Manigado's job.
Right. So Ralphie
Cool.
wound up being the booking agent.
Okay.
But again, Ralph, there was also competition, which was Jose Cubello, who was a big band leader,
Hmm.
back in the day. And
Hmm.
so now Jose was a respected man. I mean, he was as well known to the musicians as Tito Puente was.
Okay.
The
Okay.
public knew him, but not the younger public. Remember he was the Mambo era, right?
Okay. Okay.
So so Jose started a booking agency also,
Oh.
and so he started booking, acts like Tito Puente. He had Tito Puente under his belt. He had a few other acts, a couple of Cuban acts. I forgot exactly who was under him, but he started that at the time. Now Jerry and I, we didn't see each other, so I now have access to the top musicians, and
Hmm.
so that's what I
Hmm.
did. I started a band,
Excellent.
and I started a band on my own.
Was it called the Chino Rodriguez Band?
Actually, it was called Chino Rodriguez Orchestra, and
Okay.
that was for about a year before I changed it to Chino Rodriguez y la Consagración.
Consagración. Okay.
Consagración means consecrated.
Okay. Okay.
So I feel, it was just a
Did you
thing
get a lot of
where,
airplay?
well, yeah, I got some airplay. I mean, I'm pretty sure it was a lot
Because I see
back
some, I
then
see a
because I
gold record or something behind you.
oh yeah, well, yeah, of course. I mean, it sold a lot of records when I was a hit in Venezuela and in Ecuador and in Peru and stuff like that.
Nice.
And Jose Rodriguez, who was with the Eddie Palmieri band, he calls me up one day and he says, "Hey man, I just came back from Peru, bro, and I took a picture in this front of this record store that has your album all on the window.
Oh,
Your
sweet.
whole album's on the window."
You didn't even know that you were
I
famous
didn't I
there.
didn't know, right?
Wow.
I didn't know it then, and I went to confront the record label, and he said, "Oh well, because I recorded the record based on with a guy with Hector's cousin, Hector Maisonave's cousin, which was Ishmael Maisonave."
Okay.
So as you can see, what I'm saying is like a lot of relatives here, you know, touched on this business and when it first started, who someone's cousin, this one's brother, you
Yeah.
know. I mean, I got in through my wife's cousin, you know,
Mhm.
Johnny
Mhm.
Vasquez, who wound up uh, uh, retiring from the Bobby Valentine band,
Okay.
you know, out of Puerto Rico. So it's like almost like yeah, it's a family. Everybody knows each other. And when the very beginning, I mean, you know, it was Larry, his brother.
Mhm.
You
Mhm.
know,
Yeah. I had forgotten that he had a brother, Andy. I had
yeah.
almost forgotten
And
about
then
that.
Eddie Palmieri and Charlie Palmieri. You
Do
know,
Do you happen to remember? I don't. I haven't met anybody who remembers that Eddie and Charlie Palmieri had a Saturday morning kid show on, I think, CBS. Do you remember that? It was in the 70s, I think, or the 80s. They
I
had a Saturday morning show.
they did.
Yeah.
I thought that was a PBS thing.
I don't know, but I know it was on Saturday morning, and I used to watch it. It must have been in the 70s. I don't really
Yeah,
remember
it
the
had to be
name.
the '70s because Charlie was a professor at I think it was Columbia University,
Okay.
and and I know that he was teaching he was teaching music theory back then, and
Hmm.
I when I first met him, I think I think it was a public the PBS station because that
It
was
might have
another
been on
thing.
PBS.
That was
Yeah, it
another
might
thing
have
because
been.
that connection of PBS was pretty funny. That connection was through someone that knew Aurora Flores, you know,
Okay.
and Aurora brought in more or less the Latin influence into the PBS channel because
Oh,
she
okay.
got the producers and stuff to look at the Latin bands that were in the city, you know, and
Plus, I
so
think in the 70s there were a couple of shows trying to depict inner city Latino
yeah, it
life.
was
Oye Willie, I don't know if you remember that. I remember Oye Willie and Vida Real or something like that.
mm,
I can't think of it. It was, I don't know if that was on PBS or not, but I know that there were a couple of inner city shows
well,
for the and the kids.
when I started my band, my professional band, um, I was married and I lived in the Smith Projects in Chinatown,
Okay.
and there was two other bands there, Orchestra Fuego and Ray J and his orchestra, right?
Okay.
And Ray J wound up being on PBS with I think it was the what what's that with the puppets? I forgot what the name is.
Sesame Street?
Yeah, Sesame Street. They wound up going on Sesame Street playing live.
Awesome. I remember Celia Cruz being on Sesame Street.
Yeah. Well, this was in the very I think it was like 72 or something, maybe 71.
Sesame Street
Uh,
used to be really hip like
huh?
that.
Yeah.
Sesame Street used to be really hip.
Yeah, yeah. I remember that I was so jealous. I said, "How could you get on? How come I didn't get that connection?" I mean, I know Jerry, I know this guy.
Do you know who I am?
So,
I have to ask you though, with you being half Chinese, did you, because of your presence in the salsa music business, did that bring more of an Asian audience? I know that happens sometimes.
no, actually, no. It was back then. You didn't see. You know, in New York, you didn't see it. I have to admit. But I
Okay.
went to L.A. one time. I forgot exactly when, but I went with Larry to L.A. You know, it was a job that Larry went to do, and we did it in the Shark Club in Los Angeles.
Hmm.
I think the club is still there, matter of fact. And we did the Shark Club, and we were there about a week. You know, doing other clubs. And one night we had the day off, and so I went back to the Shark Club, and it happened to be Asian night
Asian night. Okay.
at the Shark Club. And Asian night at the Shark Club, they were playing salsa music. They were playing Willie Colon. They were
Oh,
playing,
wow.
yeah. And I could not believe it. I couldn't believe, hey, look at these guys, these Asian guys, these Chinese guys and girls. They're dancing salsa. How come they don't
Huh.
do it in New York?
Well, that's odd. Wonder how that happened.
I don't know. That really shocked me. Naturally, I didn't stay around because the next day I had a job, and then
Sure,
we
sure.
came back to New York. But that
Well,
stuck
that's
in my head.
interesting. I mean, it
That
happens
stuck in my head
sometimes. Yeah.
forever. That shocked me so much that it stuck in my head forever. Knowing that I went to the Shark Club and there was Asians there. After that, I kept trying to see if I can get them to hire me.
Sure, absolutely.
so,
Well,
I kept calling the guy from the club owner at the Shark Club and telling him, yeah, seeing if I could. But
yeah.
my record didn't get to California yet. At the
Okay,
time.
so you didn't know really know who you
Yeah,
were.
there was a
Yeah.
lot of things in the music business back then that screwed around a lot of the bands. A lot of bands.
Yeah.
For
Yeah.
me, it was that there, I got Larry and Andy to produce my albums because Jerry was interested in buying Mike Sonave's label, okay,
Okay. Okay.
Salsa Records, and because it had Jimmy Sabatier on there, and he had that hit "To Be With You" and as a Latin hustle, you
Oh
know.
yeah. Yeah. I remember that. Yeah.
So he had that hit. There was a couple of other things he had Joey Pastrana on there, and Jerry wanted to grab Joey Pastrana also,
Mhm.
because
Mhm.
Joey had a decent name out there, so and so. My Sonabe was another slick guy. He knew that Jerry wouldn't allow Larry or Andy to produce outside of the Fania umbrella.
Right.
So he's I guess he sweetened this situation by telling Jerry, oh well, I'm interested in selling the label. Why don't we record Chino here and you allow Larry Harlow to produce them
Okay.
and have Andy produce them also, and then we'll talk about the sale of the company. You know,
Okay.
Jerry said, "Okay, yeah, great," and you know, Jerry knew me already, so he said, "Listen, kid, you're gonna go with them. Don't worry about it. You'll be with me soon.
Don't worry about it.
You'll
You
be
have your
with me
album there,
soon."
don't you?
Yes, I do.
Let's
Here's
see.
the first album. I don't know if we could. Is it
You hold it
you
steady.
move?
Yeah.
There we go.
Cool.
That's the first album, and
And he made sure his name was on the cover, didn't he?
yeah.
It's like in smaller letters. Oh,
And
there you
then
are.
and then there's the second album, right?
Awesome.
And then here's the production thing with
Yeah, I remember seeing that. Yeah.
the Larry Harlow label,
Cool.
okay? And then they put me on these all-star albums. I don't know if I can see this.
Oh
Let me see.
yeah. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see.
Volume two first. And,
All Stars. Oh yeah,
yeah,
Santiago Ceylon. I remember him.
right. This is
Yeah.
what they call it, the Salsa All Stars or
Salsa
something.
All Star. International All Star.
Yeah, right. And
Cool.
here's the other one that came out. There you go.
Awesome.
Again,
Salsa.
my Sonava trying to emulate to to
Like the Funny All Stars,
entice
kind of.
Jerry. Yeah, he wanted to entice Jerry with the look.
Well,
I
they
even
say
have the All
flattery is
Stars there.
he's complimenting him with flattery, I guess,
Right.
or whatever.
So, but that deal fell through, and I
Oh, okay.
wound up
Oh.
on the actual, under the actual umbrella of Fania.
Hmm.
You know.
You got to tell me about. Speaking of Larry Harlow, I remember seeing pictures of the Harlow Orchestra, and he had this gigantic, the biggest Jewish star of Magen David I had ever seen in my life, always right over the band. And I think they used to call him El Judeo Maravilloso, the wonderful Jew,
The marvelous Jew.
the marvelous Jew. I used to think that was so hilarious. What was behind all that?
Well, you know, here you have Jerry with this attitude of, I am the owner, I'm the star, right? So remember, he's structuring it after Barry Gordy.
Okay.
Barry
Okay,
Gordy
Motown.
is one of the
Mhm.
most powerful guys in the music business, right?
Mhm.
And he's basically taking over the Latin salsa scene, right? And that's what he wants to do. So if you ever notice in the very beginning of Fania, you'll see the word Fania, and it has no dot on top of the I. There is no
Okay.
dot.
Okay.
As as time goes on, you'll start seeing there's a dot on top of the I, right? After the dot appeared on top of the I, you start seeing that Jerry starts putting his picture
Oh, his face on the
his face
dot.
on
Oh
it.
my God,
So
it's hilarious.
Larry turns around and says, "Wait a minute, you're not the star. I'm the star." So he
Oh
turns
my
around and
God.
says, "I'm the marvelous Jew. Forget it. I'm going to put that star right above the band."
Oh man. I mean, it was bordering on ridiculous, but I guess
This
we
was,
got a kick out
you
of it.
know,
I certainly did. I thought it was
it
funny.
was. I tell you, it was a good time back then.
Yeah,
We, and it was like, remember, we were the pioneers of salsa.
definitely.
I wasn't such well known as Larry and stuff like that, but hey, I walked
You
around
were
New
in
York
there.
like if I owned it. You know,
Yeah, gotta walk the
and Larry
walk.
walked around the world as if he owned it. You know what I mean? So you remember this it's a big ego trip for
Yeah, yeah.
for you to be known throughout the world. And everybody knows you and stuff like that.
Do you think, I mean, I don't know about the business side of Latin music, but does Fania get the credit for introducing salsa around the world? Because, I mean, there's Japanese bands playing salsa. A
Well,
friend of mine, Gunai Njai from Senegal, said there was a salsa craze in his
yeah,
country, in Africa, and, because of the
salsa
Fania
was
All Stars.
salsa was brought into all these countries by the Fania All Stars.
Okay.
There's no buts, there's no ifs, and there's no ands. Jerry made deals that would bring the Fania All Stars into Japan, into Turkey,
Wow.
Russia, everywhere you could think, Italy. You know, it's wherever Jerry was able to make a deal, he made the deal, and he made it with Ralph. He made sure that Ralph Mercado, got that deal done. Ralphie got it done with the help of a guy named Jack Hook, who used
Hmm.
to be the right hand man for Dick Clark.
Okay. Okay.
For the Dick
Hmm.
Clark, and that's how Ralphie also wound up with a contract for Madison Square Garden to have for him to be the only Latin company to produce Latin entertainment at Madison Square Garden.
Wow, that's pretty huge.
Yeah,
Wow,
that
that's
was his that
amazing.
was his deal, and who
Wow.
brought that deal to the table was Jack Hook, because Jack Hook was Dick Clark's right hand man, and so when he went to work with Ralphie for
Hmm.
jazz, he turned around and got Dick Clark to have Madison Square Garden give up those rights to Ralphie, you know,
Wow.
and because
Wow.
naturally anything American and rock and roll in Madison Square Garden had to go through Dick Clark's office.
They made a lot of money, I bet. Wow.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
yeah, that was and Ralphie got a deal, what they called, he was grandfathered in through Dick Clark's organization.
Hmm.
So and not only that, but he
That's somebody who
also,
knows how to work deals.
yeah, he
Seriously.
he got him into the Radio City situation, and he got him into the Carnegie Hall situation. So
Nice.
I mean, and he played also Lincoln Center. Wound up later on in years, but
Mm-hmm.
any large venue in New York, you know,
Mm-hmm.
that wanted to have a Latin, concert, you know, uh, the only way you could do it is that you had to hire Ralph Mercado's office to produce it for you.
Nice.
That was it.
Now I'm from Chicago, and there was a guy named Carlos Caribe Ruiz who started an organization called the Puerto Rican Congress. And through the Puerto Rican Congress, he had about five salsa bands. I played on with one of them, Típica Leal 79. And the salsa craze really spilled over, I think, all over the country. It's certainly Chicago. There were bands everywhere, absolutely everywhere. And so I was wondering if in New York, was it the same way? In other words,
Well,
did
yeah,
that cause the kids to really get excited about music?
yeah. It created a craze in New York that made all of the guys from Fania famous.
Cool.
Literally. I mean, Jerry's marketing plan was great. La, you know, Ralph Mercado and Jack Hook, with Jack Hook's help and Dick Clark's help, wound up, uh, getting the bands to Chicago, to
Mm-hmm.
California, to
Mm-hmm.
everywhere in the United States and around the world.
Mm-hmm.
So the guys would go. I went with Harlow as a sideman to Chicago to play at. There was a place in Chicago. I'm trying to see if I remember the name correctly. If it's
I'm going to say it the
I think
way,
if it's Aragon Ballroom
yeah, I'm
or
going to say it the way they used to say it on the commercial.
okay.
El Aragon.
Okay, so it was, matter of fact, I was told that it was the place where Lawrence Welk used to have his shows that would be broadcast
Hmm.
on the Ed Sullivan Show.
I didn't know that.
So
Wow.
that's what I was told when I first went there. That this was the house of Lawrence Welk, and I'm saying
Hilarious.
Lawrence Welk, yeah, Jesus.
Oh boy.
I remember, I remember when I was a kid, my mother would watch that show.
Well, when we would visit my grandmother and great grandmother, we actually were forced to watch it too. I
Yeah.
still remember Myron Florin and his accordion or whatever.
Oh yeah, that was
Oh
it.
boy.
But yeah, I walked into that ballroom. That ballroom had to be at least 3 blocks long. I mean, that was a huge place. That was
It
so huge,
was
that
it
place.
was wonderful. Wow.
Yeah, matter of fact, we played there. Uh, it was with Celia. It was with Pacheco. Um, who else was there? The Brown Brothers, I think it was. Um, I forgot who else exactly, but Andy, Andy Harlow was there.
Hmm.
So
So this
uh,
was in the
this was about
late 70s.
75,
Okay. Okay.
74, somewhere in that area.
Okay.
You know, the Aragon Ball. I remember it so well. We wound up staying in this motel. We took over the whole motel,
Cool.
and they had a breakfast place, and I remember going one of the first times that we're all my first time that I'm with them all, and I go in for breakfast, and I sit down, and who comes in is Celia, and she sits down in front of me.
That is too cool. That's way too cool. Mm.
you know, and she knew me. I didn't even know her. I didn't know her by, I knew who she was, but I didn't know her as,
You
oh,
know,
hi,
you hadn't
Celia,
met
how
her
you
yet.
doing? She said, hey, Chinito, I'm gonna sit down right here.
Now that's cool.
So, yeah, I was like, oh, okay, you
Yeah, what
know,
else are you gonna say? No?
So that was pretty cool. That I remember that gig well, you know. Um, Yeah, that was I just got that night was like almost a blur
Hmm.
because that place was so huge. You know, I was so starstruck myself with Celia and
You were starstruck?
yeah, you know, having Celia there and Willie was there and Hector. I used to talk to Hector every once in a while, you know,
Yeah.
and Hector and I both traveled in the same friend circle.
Hmm.
He used to know a lot of people down the Lower East Side, and you know, I used to see him in some of these after hours that we used to go to and stuff like that. So um, yeah, well, it was pretty cool. I mean, you know, I'm glad I lived and was able to participate in some of the history situations with
Yeah.
you know the guys on you know as a sideman and you know just being
And
in
agent
the
too,
business.
right?
Uh, an
And as
agent
an agent,
later
huh?
on, yeah, agent
Hmm.
later on in the late '70s. That's when I started the business,
Hmm.
you know, the booking business.
Yeah, let's talk about what you're doing now because I was mentioning at the beginning of the show how you have Latin music booking. That's your agency. Tell us
Right.
about that.
Well, Latin music booking. Actually, I started a business with my a partner. His name was Angel Rodriguez, and Angel wound up becoming a congressman for Brooklyn. You know,
Wow, not bad.
so and well, it's a little tragic story too, but on his end. But
Oh,
hey, you know, he got into an FBI sting. So, you know,
oh,
but
awkward.
yeah, well, but he was I couldn't believe that happened to him. But you know, what can you do? But he
Yeah,
was a good guy. You know, for me, when he was with me, he was a great guy. I never would have thought that would have happened later on in his future. But
oh boy.
we started this business called Ole Record, I mean Ole Entertainment, which was Omni Latin Entertainment. So we called it
Okay.
Ole, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So we had the office out of Metropolitan Avenue in Brooklyn, and you know, I then basically now started looking around for acts. At the time, you had already, you know, Ralph and all these guys. Ralph already started his label.
Sure.
He had RMM, uh,
That's right.
you know,
Yeah, right.
yeah, and so he had a booking agency out of the same label. He There was other people that were doing you know
I
bookings.
remember Latin percussion tried to do that as
Yeah,
well.
yeah, right.
Yeah,
Martin Cohen.
yeah.
So you know there was a lot of competition.
Hmm.
But when I started with my partner uh, at the time, the Latin these Latin legends that I grew up with, okay,
Hmm.
that I worked with, uh, were not playing. They weren't working.
They
They were
had retired, or you mean the jobs
no,
dried up?
the jobs dried up in New York, not outside New York, but
Okay.
in New York.
Is that because the size of the
In
bands?
the U.S. kind of thing, you know, basically it dried up. I mean, you didn't see uh, you didn't see Barretto working that much. You
Is that
didn't
because the
see
bands were too big?
well, no, I don't think it was because the bands were too big. Because they would still hire a Gran Combo out of Puerto Rico, you know,
Wow, that's a big
you know,
band. That's a real big
you know,
band.
so, and there was, you know, but I think what happened was that the era of disco when it came in,
Oh yeah,
the DJs kind of like took over. You know, the
yeah.
clubs you know, economically they were trying to cut down on their budgets, and so they didn't hire live bands anymore.
Oh yeah.
You know,
I forgot about
so
disco.
yeah, so
Unfortunate.
And then Jerry wound up retiring. You know, from Fania. You know,
Oh,
what I mean?
okay.
He stopped basically doing Fania, you know, doing the recordings anymore.
Did he shut it down or what?
No, he didn't
Or,
shut it down. No, but he moved to Argentina. You know,
he did?
he moved to
Oh, I didn't
Argentina,
know.
and
Okay.
he started living out there. He would only come in for for he was a fanatical tennis guy, so he would only come in for those tennis tournaments in Queens. You know, I forgot what they call.
What's it,
So
Wimbledon or something?
yeah, the tennis open, whatever it is.
Okay, yeah.
So he would only come in for that. When he'd come in, things
So
would
who was
happen
running
around.
Fania? Johnny Pacheco? Did he take it
No,
over or
Johnny
what?
wasn't running fine. Yeah, Johnny also wound up selling his part of Fania to Jerry. I think it
Oh,
was in the mid '70s, late '70s. He wound up selling out to Jerry,
oh,
and who ran Fania for Jerry was this guy. I forgot his name now. He a Cuban fellow. He never liked me, that guy, but he had the distribution out of 10th Avenue in New York. I think it was G. I think it was he was in partnership with a company called GB Records, and they
okay.
were distributing all the Fania stuff. And basically because he was running Fania for Jerry,
Hmm.
and Jerry would come in and just for that stupid tennis thing, and when he did, maybe he'd do a few little things with Ralph, and
Sure,
there'd be
sure.
a salsa festival here, a salsa festival there.
Hmm.
It wasn't really with the other guys because at the time Ralph was trying to push his people,
Right,
and
right. Because he did
basically
pick up steam, I remember. Yeah.
yeah. And so Ralph pushing his people. There's nobody pushing the legends. So
It's
the
kind of
legends
weird.
didn't get played. They
Yeah.
didn't get played on the radio. So it's the way the world works is you're not seen, you're not heard,
Out of
you
sight,
know,
out of mind.
out of sight, out of mind, and that's it. That's what happened.
So
So
how did the center, because it happened while I wasn't looking, but how did the center of salsa go from New York to Miami?
oh.
It seems that it's based in Miami now. Am I wrong?
because what happened was that here you have a guy named Jerry Masucci with a record company called Fania Records pulling in the general area of maybe, and this is back in the '70s now, pulling into the general area of 10 million a year. Okay,
Not
10
bad.
million a year in the '70s is like saying
Like
saying
50
like,
million.
yeah, no, maybe $1 billion now,
Oh,
you know.
wow. Gee.
So,
Wow.
he basically took over. And so what happened was that he turned around and was showing, you know, CBS Records, Columbia Records, and all these people that, hey, there's money here in the Latin scene. You
For
guys don't
real.
see it, but there is. There's money here. And so even though they had their Latin divisions, they
Hmm.
didn't really record salsa, you know.
Okay, okay.
So there, one of the vice presidents of Fania, which is Harvey Avern, he turned around and was got the job at Columbia Records as president of the Latin division.
Okay.
And so he then started recording uh, Eddie Palmieri. I think it was Joe Cuba.
Oh,
He started grabbing
yeah.
the guys that Jerry didn't have.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
and then these companies started realizing, oh wow, there's money in this business, in the Latin business. And so when they started doing that, they started realizing, well, we need Latin people to control this. We need Latin employees. And who better
Okay.
than let's open up let's open up our offices in Miami, and we're going to hire these Latin professionals, and the Latin professionals were wound up being all Cuban.
Oh, okay. I did hear that they all ended up, yeah, being,
Yeah. So
yeah.
the business stayed in Miami, and
Okay.
And during that time, also the television business started taking off with Univision and
Oh
Telemundo and
yeah,
stuff.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So, and that was the involvement of, between the record labels in Miami, which were the big, the big five. We're
Hmm.
talking Warner Brothers,
Hmm. Oh yeah.
Sony,
Hmm.
CBS. This is before they all combined together. They were all separate. Atlantic Records. Everybody had
Sure.
a Latin label, and they were
Hmm.
all of them were in Miami.
They must be
The
making.
only one that was in New York was
Uh,
Jerry.
okay, okay.
The only one that was in New York was Jerry.
And he
Cause
pretty much walked away, like you said.
yeah, and basically he didn't care because he controlled it all. So what? You're gonna come into the Latin market. Well, what are you gonna take? A slice of pie? Not even. You could take this slice of pie and divide it between the five of you. The
Wow.
big five. Go ahead, take that slice of pie. I've got the rest of the pie. You know.
So
So
before his death, did he ever sell Fania to
he
somebody
he
or?
sold Fania. He sold Fania to I believe it was Sony. Uh, some I think it was either 42 mil or something like that for the catalog.
That's not bad.
And
I could
there was
use I could
there's
use
a
that kind of money.
Jerry again was there's another story behind Jerry. Jerry was I told you he was a brilliant guy. So Jerry started seeing these sneakers called Nike, and
Yeah,
he started seeing these sneakers called Nike, pretty building themselves up in New York and stuff like that.
yeah.
And he saw the future, so he trademarked the Nike logo around the world
Trade
before
my
Nike,
cinch you did?
yeah, before Nike exploded.
Well, I'll be.
And so Nike turned around, and when it started exploding, they turn around and they want their trademark in Spain. They want their trademark in South America. They
Yeah.
want their trademark, right? And when they run the trademark thing, whose name comes up? Who's this guy who owns our trademark? Jerry
How did he
Masucci?
do that? I wonder how he did that though.
Remember, he was a lawyer, so he learned about trademark, world trademarks, and he trademarked that name.
Man, is
And
he
he did
slick
that,
or
and
was he slick?
he wound up selling that logo back
Selling the
to
logo
Nike.
back to the company that owned it.
Because they didn't own it outside the United States.
I got you now. I understand.
They didn't
Boy,
own it
ooh, he
outside the
was
United States.
brilliant.
So
Hmm.
I heard that deal was about 300 and something million.
Sweet.
So
Wow.
basically, how Jerry turned around and decided to, I'll keep Fania open, but I'm going to Argentina
Yeah.
and live the rest of my life out there.
But I have noticed that Fania is online now. And it
Yeah.
seems
Oh,
that they're
now,
re-releasing their catalog,
yeah,
right?
that's because Fania was purchased by a company called eMusic. I don't
Okay.
particularly know the people there, but they purchased it. Before them, there was I forgot who else was there, but this guy Bordeaux, I can't, it's hard to pronounce his name, but he was a television executive for
Mhm.
Telemundo,
Mhm.
and him and his partners bought Fania, and they decided to turn around and remaster all of the master tapes, not just take the album and dump it to digital.
Yeah, like
They
they
took
used to
all
do.
the masters back into the studio and remastered them.
I'm so glad because a lot of salsa music is so super compressed. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm real happy to hear that.
So,
So
yeah,
now I
that's
have
what
to
they did.
rebuy everything. I don't
Uh,
mind.
that's well, my friend Harvey, who I basically learned the record business from. He turned around and said to me uh, that he was going to start Mongo Records. So, Harvey is the one that recorded Eddie Palmieri and won the first two Grammys ever. So
Awesome.
Ed
Wow.
on Mongo Records or Coco Records actually. he
Coco. Okay.
started Mango, and then somebody else had Mango. They sued him, so he had to change it to Coco.
Oh, okay, 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 okay.
So
Can't
yeah,
mess around with those copyrights.
yeah. So he had him and this guy Sam Goff. Sam Goff was another record executive that was with the American companies, and then wound up going with Harvey and starting Coco, and then he branched off and did South Soul Records.
Definitely remember South Soul Records.
Yeah,
Definitely. They had a lot of hits.
yeah. So South Soul
And they
Records
were probably, would you say they were most popular during that disco era, right?
Yeah, right. Because
Yeah.
that was the creation of Sam Goff. You know.
Oh, okay.
So
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
so it was. I mean, there's a lot of behind the stuff that nobody really knows. But yeah, Harvey started the Coco Records. Larry Harlow became a governor of the Grammys and pushed the Grammys to have a separate category for Latin music.
And now there's a separate Latin Grammys.
Right. Now there's a separate Latin Grammys. But
Hmm.
who's very responsible for it, which nobody knows that well, is the marvelous Jew turned around and was the one that petitioned to have a Latin Grammy
Huh.
in the
Well,
Grammys.
how about that?
And then guess who wins it? Instead of Larry, naturally he was doing it for himself, right?
Oh, I didn't know.
Yeah,
Okay.
he was pushing it for himself because he wanted to win the Grammy.
Okay.
And the only way Larry was going to win the Grammy, because he's not playing American music, he's playing Latin music.
Yeah.
The only way for him to win a Grammy is to get a Latin division in the Grammys, right?
Sure,
So he
sure. Okay.
petitioned it, him and Rita Moreno, and he got a lot of people behind him. And and then who wins it is Harvey Avern.
Oh, not him. Oh, wow. That's funny.
Harvey Avern is the one that wins it because he had Eddie Palmieri, and Eddie Palmieri won the first two Grammys ever awarded to a
My
Latin
man.
band.
How about that? Well, in the last couple of minutes that we have left, I want you to tell us about the Oriente Music Group and who you have on your label.
Well, Oriente Music Group was created because, again, you know, friend ties and stuff like that. Well, back in the early '90s, I signed a kid named Gito Lopez, who was on Sony Discos. Vice president of Sony Discos came to me and said, "Listen, I've got this kid. You want to be his agent?" I said, "Okay, give it to me." So he gave him to me, and I was his agent for about 2, 3 years. After that, Gito was a big hit. He went on to other agents, but
Hmm. Hmm.
after a while, Gito was won a Grammy nomination on MP Records, and then
Sweet.
we got in touch again. And then a few years later, Gito, that the way the industry was, that they weren't signing any money anymore. So Gito decided that he was going to record a new record. And so he talked to me about it, and I said, "Well, you know what, Gito, why don't you start your production company, and I'll start my label, and
Mm. Okay.
I'll sign you as a production company. This way, you bring in more acts under you."
That's what they do in rap. I heard that when you're signed as a rap artist, you're supposed to bring others with you.
Right. And
Yeah.
so that's what I was
That's
following.
smart, actually.
I'm looking at that rule, because I'm following what the rappers do. Hey, you know,
Yeah.
look at them. They're doing great jobs, right? So I figured, okay, let Gito bring in more guys, and I'll take Gito. So I opened up a company called Oriente Music Group.
Okay.
Oriente because Chinese,
Okay. Orient. Okay.
and music group. And out of the music group, I have several different type of production companies, and then the Oriente Music or Oriente Records is this album here, which is the album I came out with on Jito, and
Nice.
and he has it became a radio hit, they call it. this one of the songs called Isla en el Mar, and that's the Latin version of Islands in the Stream. And
Okay.
he did that with La India.
La India. Oh
Yeah,
man, sweet.
he did that with La India, and so I wound up putting out that record, and it did okay. You know,
Yeah.
I can't complain. He can't complain about it. But you know, it's and now I'm about to put out. I'm going to put out this group called Proyecto NYC, formerly known as Proyecto Uno. You know,
Oh, definitely I know they are.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
Awesome.
they're now going to be called Proyecto NYC because they're all out
Okay.
of New York now.
Okay. Awesome.
And so I'm putting out their album, you know, and that should be in maybe 2 3 months. We should have it all finished. So
So people who are watching this show now or watching the YouTube video of this, if they want to get in contact with you because they want to be a big star or musical artist in the Latin world, how do they get in contact with you?
well, let me. Besides getting in contact with me, I want them to be intelligent enough to understand that today's business of the music business is promotion. You
Okay.
have to promote yourself.
Mhm.
No
Mhm.
one's going to do it for you, you
Definitely.
know. And you
Mhm.
have to understand what it is. And before you even just go out there and say, "Oh, it's me," let's have it on paper. Give me a promotion plan. Give me a marketing plan. Tell me what you want to try to do and how you're going to accomplish these things. All right? Then contact me. And you can contact me very easy on with latinmusicbooking.com or orientemusicgroup.com. I right now those websites are being restructured, and as soon as the web guy has it finished, they should be up and great. But they can also contact me. It's real easy. It's called latinmusicbooking@gmail.com. Simple
Awesome.
enough.
Awesome. Before we go, I just wanted to throw a shout out to my cousin, Jeff Stills. He is a jazz musician. He plays piano. He's from New York City, and he used to hang with all the cats, all the Latin cats, all the jazz cats. He just moved to Augusta, Georgia, to take care of his mom. And
Okay.
he probably notices his dad's artwork behind me, Randolph Stills. I wanted to throw a shout out to him because he was really excited when I told him I was going to have Chino Rodriguez on my show. He was like, wow, that's super cool. I just want to throw a shout out to him. I also wanted to let the people know if you want to be a guest on TV Skywriter, if you're an author, musician, visual artist, entrepreneur, or just a super interesting person, just get in contact with me. You can write to Durham Skywriter at gmail.com. And do you have any shout outs there, Mr. Chino Rodriguez?
Well, I just want to say to the young salsa artists out there and artists period, um, you know, you got to have dedication, and you, like I said, don't come to me just saying I have a record. Come to me saying, you know, I have this plan, and this is how I'm going to become number one. I want to hear that from you. I want to see it in paper. So, and I'll take the ride with you.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much for being on the show, Chino Rodriguez.
All right. Thank you very much for having me.
Absolutely. Okay, folks, you have a great week. I will see you next Sunday. Ciao. That was awesome.